From the absolute longest drives to terrifying golf records that haunt players for years. These are the 20 rarest golf moments that will never be topped. And first, we start with one of the most infamous records in golf history. It's not the kind of record you brag about over beers, but for John Daly, the two-time major champion and larger-than-life personality, it seems to fit his unconventional style. Known for his towering drives and unapologetically colorful lifestyle, Daly has never shied away from controversy, on or off the course. And when it comes to withdrawals, Daly's track record is its own wild ride. Sometimes due to real injuries, other times fueled by pure frustration. Take the 2019 Open Championship, for instance. Daly, struggling with osteoarthritis in his knee, requested the use of a golf cart, a rare allowance on the PGA Tour, but permitted under the Americans with Disabilities Act. When his request was denied, Daly didn't just take it on the chin. He withdrew a decision that sparked debates over fairness and tradition in the sport. While some sympathized with his condition, others saw it as another chapter in Daly's penchant for polarizing decisions. But let's be real, injuries weren't always the issue. Sometimes Daly's infamous temper took the wheel. Case in point, the 2007 Honda Classic. After just 2 holes, Daly abruptly pulled out, officially citing an injury. Yet, rumors swirled that frustration with his performance had more to do with it than any physical ailment. It wasn't the first, and certainly wouldn't be the last, time Daly walked off the course in dramatic fashion, leaving onlookers to shake their heads while he headed for the parking lot. And now we're at number 19, a record so jaw-dropping it sounds more like a tall tale than a real moment in golf history. Imagine this. You're standing on the tee box, gripping your driver, and you give it everything you got. The ball soars not just far, but miles. Most golfers dream of a drive that flies over 300 yards. Mike Austin? He smashed the ball a mind-bending 515 yards. Yes, 515 yards. That's longer than 5 football fields, and it's been the official record for nearly 50 years. This legendary shot happened in 1974 during the U.S. National Seniors Open Championship at Winterwood Golf Course in Las Vegas. Of course, Austin had some help from Mother Nature. There was a strong tailwind, and the hole itself had a favorable downhill slope. But even with those conditions, 515 yards is beyond extraordinary. It wasn't a fluke, either. Austin was known for his raw power and innovative swing mechanics, which he later taught to others as a golf instructor. At the time, he was 64 years old, proving age is just a number when you're swinging like a titan. What makes this record even more fascinating is how it's endured despite modern advancements in equipment and training. Today's drivers are lighter, balls fly farther, and players are stronger. Yet no one has officially topped Austin's epic drive. There have been close calls like Max Homa's 477-yard bomb at the 2024 Century Tournament of Champions, but even that fell nearly 40 yards short. From an unforgettable drive to an unstoppable teenager, the next record proves that greatness doesn't wait for age or experience. It just happens. Here we are at number 18 with a record so extraordinary it almost feels like fiction. Picture this. You're not even old enough to drive, vote, or order a glass of wine, yet you're already dominating one of the toughest sports in the world. That's exactly what Lydia Ko did. Before she even turned 19, Ko had captured a mind-blowing 10 LPGA Tour victories, earning her place as one of the most inspiring prodigies golf has ever seen. Ko's journey into the history books began when she burst onto the scene in 2012. At just 15 years, 4 months, and 2 days old, she stunned the golf world by winning the CN Canadian Women's Open. That victory didn't just earn her a trophy, it made her the youngest winner in LPGA Tour history. But hold on, it gets even crazier. Earlier that year, she had already made headlines by winning the New South Wales Open at age 14, becoming the youngest player to win a professional golf tour event. The world was quickly learning that Lydia Ko was something truly special. By the end of 2014, Ko had already accumulated 5 LPGA Tour wins. Her consistency, composure, and laser-sharp game made her an unstoppable force on the course. While other teenagers were figuring out college applications or part-time jobs, Ko was traveling the globe, collecting trophies and rewriting the record books. Next up, number 17, with a record so rare it feels untouchable. Phil Mickelson, at 50 years, 11 months, and 7 days old, became the oldest golfer in history to win a major championship. Think about that for a moment. In a sport dominated by younger, stronger players where endurance and power often tip the scales, Mickelson defied time itself to etch his name into the record books. So, how did this happen? The stage was Kiawa Island's Ocean Course, one of the toughest layouts in the world. It's the kind of place that doesn't just challenge players, it exposes their weaknesses. Mickelson began the final round with a one-shot lead, but it was far from smooth sailing. Brooks Koepka, a two-time PGA champion and 20 years Mickelson's junior, came out swinging, taking the lead after the very first hole. But Phil wasn't about to let history slip away. On the fifth hole, he gave the crowd something to go wild over, a ridiculous chip-in birdie from the sand. Just like that, he took back the lead and the momentum. Then came the 10th hole, a par 5 that would become the turning point. Phil smashed a towering second shot that rolled perfectly into position for an eagle putt. And when that ball dropped into the cup, the crowd lost it. Meanwhile, Brooks started to unravel under the pressure, and Louis Oosthuizen quietly moved up the leaderboard, becoming Phil's main threat. Then it all came down to the 18th. Phil stood on the tee with a two-shot cushion and the chance to do what no one his age had ever done before. He nailed his drive, a beauty straight down the fairway. His approach shot? Smart and safe, landing right on the green and taking any drama out of play. As he walked up to the green, the crowd was buzzing, knowing they were about to see history. Phil's first putt stopped just inches from the hole, and with a casual tap-in for par, it was over. The place erupted, fans stormed the course, surrounding him in chaos and celebration as he raised his arms in victory. Coming in at number 16, with a record so brutal, it's every golfer's worst nightmare. It's the 2018 Masters, and Sergio Garcia, fresh off his triumphant 2017 win, is back at Augusta National as the defending champion. He steps onto the iconic 15th hole, Firethorn, with hopes of recapturing some of that magic. But instead, what unfolds is a scene so excruciating, so downright unbelievable, that it goes down as one of the most infamous moments in Masters history. So, what happened? Firethorn is a par 5 that lures players into chasing glory, offering the tantalizing chance for birdies or eagles, if they dare take on the water hazard in front of the green. Garcia's tee shot was solid, putting him in a good spot for an aggressive approach. But that's when the nightmare began. His second shot hit the green but spun back, trickling, teasing, until it rolled off the edge and splashed into the pond. Annoyed but determined, Garcia dropped another ball and tried again. And again, the ball hit the green, only to roll back into the water. And then it happened again, and again. 5 times in total, Sergio hit the green, only to watch helplessly as the ball slid back into the hazard. Each shot felt like a gut punch. Fans near the hole started murmuring in disbelief, while others simply stared in stunned silence. By the time he finally got one to stick on dry ground, the damage was catastrophic. Garcia walked off the hole with a staggering 13 on his scorecard, tying the record for the worst score ever recorded on a single hole at the Masters. Augusta National, as beautiful as it is unforgiving, had once again shown why it commands so much respect. And here we are at number 15, a record that speaks volumes about consistency, endurance, and absolute brilliance. We're at Augusta National again, and this time it's Tiger Woods who takes the stage. What he pulled off in April 2024 might sound like just another day at the office for a legend like Tiger. But let's be real. When you stop and think about it, this is just insane. Tiger Woods made the cut at the Masters for the 24th consecutive time. Let that sink in. 24 straight years. With this record, Woods surpassed golfing legends Fred Couples and Gary Player, who previously shared the record with 23 consecutive cuts. What makes this streak even more jaw-dropping is everything Woods has faced along the way. He isn't the same young phenom who tore through the golf world in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Over the years, he has faced a laundry list of challenges that would have ended most careers. Multiple back surgeries, a near-fatal car crash, and the grueling process of rehabilitation all tested his body and spirit. The streak began in 1997, the year Woods announced himself to the world with a record-breaking 12-shot victory at the Masters. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. In 2018, the streak was nearly broken. Battling through rain-soaked rounds, Tiger barely scraped by, making the cut by the slimmest of margins. For fans, seeing his name just inside the line, it felt like he'd won another major. And here we are at number 14, with a story about precision, patience, and perhaps a little bit of luck. The 12th hole at Augusta National, Golden Bell, isn't just any par 3. It's one of the most infamous holes in golf, a deceptively short but treacherous 155 yards that has crushed many a master's dream. Rays Creek snakes in front, bunkers lurk to punish any wayward shot, and swirling winds play tricks on even the most seasoned pros. Most players approach this hole with caution, aiming safely for the middle of the green and hoping to walk away with par. But in 2003, Scott Verplank did something remarkable. He played this hole 4 times across the tournament and carded a flawless string of 2-2-2-2. Yes, you heard that right. Over 4 rounds, Verplank aced the strategy for Golden Bell, recording birdies every single time he stood on the tee box. That kind of consistency is unheard of, especially on a hole known for causing so much chaos. What makes this feat even more impressive is the history of the 12th hole. It's the scene of some of the biggest collapses in Masters history. Just ask Jordan Spieth, who famously lost the 2016 Masters with a quadruple bogey 7 on this very hole, or Greg Norman, whose troubles here contributed to his infamous meltdown in 1996. For Verplank to navigate this minefield perfectly for 4 straight rounds is nothing short of extraordinary. Coming in at number 13, and this record is so electrifying that it feels like something out of a golfing fairy tale. Picture this. It's the 2nd round of the 2009 RBC Canadian Open, and Mark Calcavecchia, a seasoned pro with a knack for making headlines, is about to make history. Starting on the 12th hole, Calcavecchia does something no one had ever done before on the PGA Tour. He birdies 8 consecutive holes. That's right, 8 birdies in a row. To put this into perspective, most players would be thrilled to string together just 2 or 3 birdies in a round. Birdies are hard to come by, even for the best in the world, but Calcavecchia made them look almost routine. From the 12th to the 18th hole, he was unstoppable. But suddenly, things took a completely unexpected turn. Despite this record-breaking streak, Calcavecchia didn't win the tournament. Golf, as they say, can be cruel like that. The RBC Canadian Open is notorious for its tough conditions, and while Calcavecchia's magic on Friday gave him a share of the lead, the weekend didn't go as planned. He eventually finished tied for 8th, a respectable showing but far from the victory many hoped for after such an incredible performance. 8 consecutive birdies are remarkable, but how about achieving the ultimate dream shot not once, but 10 times? The next record brings us to the kings of the ace. Here at number 12, we have a record that feels almost impossible to match. Every golfer dreams of a hole-in-one, that magical shot that flies straight into the cup, bypassing the usual grind of a hole. For most, it's a once-in-a-lifetime achievement, if it happens at all. But for Robert Allenby and Hal Sutton, it became a habit. Both players hold the PGA Tour record for the most official holes in one, with an astounding 10 each. To put this into perspective, 2 of the greatest golfers of all time, Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, have managed just 3 each in their storied careers. That's how rare this feat is. Aces require a combination of skill, precision, and a little bit of luck. And to pull it off 10 times in PGA Tour events is nothing short of extraordinary. For Allenby, an Australian known for his smooth swing and sharp iron play, the ability to hit the perfect shot seemed almost second nature. His knack for aces showcased just how dialed in he could get, particularly on par 3 holes, where accuracy is king. Sutton, on the other hand, was a grinder with a reputation for rising to the occasion in big moments. While his career was highlighted by a Players' Championship victory and a pivotal Ryder Cup match, his collection of aces stands out as a testament to his incredible shot-making ability. Which brings us to number 11, with a record that proves just how dominant one golfer can be. Imagine playing round after round and barely putting a foot wrong. That's exactly what Tiger Woods did in the 2000 PGA Tour season. He sets an incredible record for the lowest scoring average in history at 67.79 strokes per round. To understand just how absurd that number is, consider this. A typical PGA Tour scoring average hovers around 70. For Tiger to shave more than 2 strokes off that over an entire season is absolutely insane. It wasn't just one good tournament or a hot streak. It was months of sustained excellence where every part of his game, from driving to putting, was firing on all cylinders. The year 2000 is often regarded as Tiger's peak, and for good reason. He won 9 tournaments that season, including 3 major championships: the US Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship. At Pebble Beach, he demolished the field in the US Open, winning by a record 15 strokes. His ability to consistently overpower courses and outthink his competitors made it clear that no one could touch him. You're halfway through our list at number 10, and this record is so unreal it seems to defy all logic. Picture this. You're playing golf, a game where even the tiniest mistake, a misread putt, a gust of wind, or a bad bounce, can cost you a stroke. Now imagine going not just one round or even two, but 6 entire rounds without a single bogey. That's exactly what Ko Jin Young did in 2019, setting the professional golf record for the most consecutive bogey-free holes. An incredible 114. Yep, that's right, 114 holes without making a single bogey. Ko's streak began at the AIG Women's British Open during the 3rd round, at the 3rd hole. From there, she was untouchable. Par after par, birdie after birdie, Ko seemed to be playing a different game than everyone else. Over this stretch, she went a jaw-dropping 41 under par, including 34 holes of major championship golf. It's worth noting that this wasn't just a streak of good luck, it was precision golf at its finest. But here comes the best part. What makes this record even more astonishing is who Ko surpassed. The previous record holder was none other than Tiger Woods, who went 110 holes without a bogey back in 2000. At the time, many thought Woods' record was untouchable. After all, Tiger was at the peak of his powers then, and the level of dominance he displayed seemed impossible to replicate. But Ko, with her smooth swing and unshakable focus, proved that anything is possible. Counting down to number 9, and we're with Phil Mickelson again. At first glance, you might think this record is just business as usual for a player of Phil's caliber. But when you stop and think about it, it's actually incredible. Phil Mickelson set the record for spending an unbelievable 26 years, 1,353 weeks, inside the world's top 50 rankings. To put that into perspective, when Mickelson first broke into the top 50 in November 1993, Tiger Woods was still an amateur, and Bill Clinton had just been sworn in as president. For over 2 decades, Mickelson was a constant presence in the upper echelon of golf, competing against multiple generations of players and adapting his game to stay competitive. His journey into the top 50 began after a runner-up finish at the Casio World Open on the Japan Golf Tour. From there, Mickelson never looked back. What makes this streak so remarkable is the level of consistency required to maintain it. Golf is a sport of peaks and valleys, where slumps and injuries can derail even the best players. Yet Mickelson managed to stay relevant through it all, winning 5 major championships, including 3 Masters titles, and playing pivotal roles in Ryder Cups along the way. So yeah, while most of us struggle to stay consistent with a gym routine for a month, Phil Mickelson stayed in the top 50 for 26 years. Let that sink in. And here we are at number 8, with a record that feels straight out of a comedy movie, but is all too real. Imagine standing on the tee box, looking down at a seemingly straightforward par 5, and leaving the hole with an 18. Yes, you heard that right. 18 shots on a single hole. That's exactly what happened to John Daly during the final round of the 1998 Bay Hill Invitational on the infamous par 5 6th hole. Daly, known for his long drives and fiery personality, stepped up to the 6th tee to conquer it. But golf, as we all know, has a way of humbling even the best players. His first shot, straight into the water hazard that guards the left side of the fairway. And then came the drop, and another attempt, and another ball in the water. Over and over, Daly tried to clear the hazard, but the golf gods weren't having it. It took 7 attempts before he finally got his ball over the water, only for it to land on a rock near the green and ricochet into a bunker. By the time Daly holed out, he had racked up 18 strokes, setting the record for the highest score on a single hole in PGA Tour in 50 years. The crowd was stunned, and comparisons to the fictional tin cup scenario where a golfer keeps trying the same impossible shot out of sheer determination were inevitable. In true John Daly fashion, he turned a simple par 5 into a feature-length comedy, because why lay up when you can go for the record books instead? Which brings us to lucky number 7, a record so mind-boggling it feels like it's from another universe. Imagine stepping onto the tee, tournament after tournament, knowing that winning once is a monumental achievement. Now imagine doing it again, and again, and again, 11 times in a row. That's the kind of dominance Byron Nelson unleashed in 1945, carving his name into golf history with a streak that still stands as one of the most unbreakable records of all time. It all started in March with Nelson cruising to victory at the Miami 4-ball. From there, it was like watching a machine at work. Week after week, Nelson dismantled the competition. The fields weren't filled with just weekend players either. Many top golfers were still competing, even as others served during World War II. By the time August rolled around, Nelson had racked up 11 consecutive wins. 11. On the PGA Tour. But if you thought this was it, you're wrong. In the same season, Nelson won 18 of the 30 tournaments he entered, an incredible 60% win rate. To put that into perspective, Tiger Woods, during his prime, never won more than 9 events in a single season. Golfers today rarely even play 30 events in a year, making Nelson's record even more unassailable. While modern players like Tiger Woods and Ben Hogan have come close, no one has truly threatened Nelson's 11-win streak. Woods had a streak of 7 straight victories in 2006-2007, and Hogan matched that in 1948. But the elusive 11 remains untouched. 11 straight wins are extraordinary, but what about a streak that lasted for 7 years? The next record shows what true consistency looks like. Counting down to our top 5 with number 6 on the list, this is a record that is as much about resilience as it is about brilliance. Picture this: Tiger Woods, stepping onto the course for 142 straight tournaments, never once missing the cut. For 7 years, Tiger turned what is a career-defining challenge for most golfers into a formality. While others fell victim to pressure or off days, Tiger, he just kept going. Here's some context. The cut is the moment in a tournament where the field is slashed, eliminating players whose scores are too high to continue into the weekend. For most, it's a battle of survival. For Tiger, it was a non-event. Week after week, from 1998 to 2005, he didn't just make the cut, he obliterated it. During this streak, Tiger notched 36 wins, including 8 majors, proving that consistency isn't just about showing up, it's about dominating. Even on his worst days, when his game seemed to falter, he would grind, claw, and fight his way back. "I fight in. That's how I am," he once said. Then came May 2005, the Byron Nelson Championship at Cottonwood Valley, where Tiger finally faced an opponent he couldn't defeat. One too many shots. A bogey on the final hole left him 1 stroke outside the cut line, ending the streak that had seemed invincible. In a twist of irony, it happened at the tournament named after Byron Nelson, the man whose record of 113 consecutive cuts Tiger had shattered 2 years earlier. Yes, you've made it to our top 5, and this one takes us to what many call the GOAT of golf. We're talking about Jack Nicklaus, and a record he'd likely trade anything to erase from his legacy. But before we move on, please subscribe and help us to achieve our goal of 15,000 subs before the end of the year. Seriously, it would mean everything to us. Now, let's move on. Imagine winning 18 major championships, more than any golfer in history, and still being remembered for your second-place finishes. That's because Jack Nicklaus didn't just win 18 majors, he also came in runner-up an unbelievable 19 times. It's a record just as extraordinary as his victories. No other player in golf history has matched this level of consistency when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Jack Nicklaus finished runner-up 4 times at the Masters, 4 times at the US Open, 4 times at the PGA Championship, and an astonishing 7 times at the Open Championship. Now, imagine for a moment if Nicklaus had turned even half of those 19 second-place finishes into victories. He wouldn't just hold the record for the most majors, he'd have a mind-blowing 37 major titles. Think about that for a second. It's a what-if scenario that only adds to the legend of Jack Nicklaus. For Nicklaus, it was never just about the wins. It was about competing, about showing up when it mattered most. Throughout his career, he racked up 56 top 5 finishes in majors, a number that dwarfs everyone else. The next closest? Tiger Woods, with 26. Next up, number 4. And this time, we're talking about the man many on the other side of the debate call the GOAT. It's the year 2000, and Tiger Woods is in the prime of his career. What he accomplished that year was just incredible. Tiger held all 4 of golf's major titles at once, a feat so extraordinary it earned its own name, the Tiger Slam. To grasp how monumental this is, you need to understand what majors mean in golf. Winning just one can define a player's entire career. But Tiger wasn't just chasing a single trophy, he was rewriting history. Over a mind-bending 10 months, he captured the US Open, the Open Championship, the PGA Championship, and the Masters, doing what no one had ever done in the modern era. It all started at the 2000 US Open at Pebble Beach. Tiger finished at 12 under par, 15 strokes ahead of the nearest competitor, the largest margin of victory in US Open history. Second major on his route, the Open at St. Andrews. He dominated the field and won by 8 strokes with a record 19 under par total. The drama continued at the PGA Championship at Valhalla. This time, it wasn't a runaway victory, but a playoff thriller against Bob May. Tiger's clutch putting under immense pressure sealed the win and his 3rd consecutive major. Now, with 3 major titles already under his belt, all eyes were on Tiger as he set his sights on the 4th. Then, in April 2001, he arrived at Augusta National for the Masters, carrying the weight of history and the expectations of the entire golf world. Once again, Tiger delivered. He outlasted the field, finishing 2 strokes ahead of David Duval. The victory made him the first player in the modern era to hold all 4 major titles at the same time. Sliding into our top 3, and here we have a record that doesn't just highlight dominance, it defines it. Imagine being the best in the world, not just for a few weeks, or even a few years, but for 683 total weeks. That's over 13 years as the #1 golfer in the world, a feat Tiger Woods accomplished during his unparalleled career. Tiger first claimed the top spot in the official World Golf Rankings on June 15, 1997, at just 21 years old. At the time, he was already making waves in the golf world, but few could have predicted what was to come. Over the next decade and a half, Tiger would go on to redefine what it meant to dominate a sport. The most incredible part of this record, his longest consecutive streak as #1, an unbelievable 281 weeks from June 2005 to October 2010. For over 5 years, no one could dethrone him. To put that in perspective, the next closest golfer in total weeks at #1 is Greg Norman, who held the position for 331 weeks, less than half of Tiger's total. During his time at the top, he won 15 major championships, including the Tiger Slam, and more wins than most golfers dream of in a lifetime. His ability to dominate courses, intimidate competitors, and perform under pressure was unmatched. And now we're at #2, with what might just be the most jaw-dropping performance in golf history. Imagine stepping onto the biggest stage, facing the best players in the world, and beating them so soundly that it's not even a contest. That's exactly what Tiger Woods did at the 2000 US Open at Pebble Beach. He didn't just win, he demolished the field, finishing 15 shots ahead of his nearest competitors, a record that still stands today as the largest margin of victory in any major championship. The conditions at Pebble Beach that week were brutal, as you'd expect at a US Open. The greens were lightning fast, the rough was punishing, and the wind was relentless. Most of the field struggled just to keep their scores respectable. By the end of the tournament, the best that Ernie Els and Miguel Angel Jimenez could manage was 3 over par. Tiger, on the other hand, he finished at 12 under, the only player under par for the week. It wasn't just the margin of victory that made this performance legendary, it was the way Tiger went about it. From the very first round, he left no doubt who was in control. He opened with a 65, putting himself 6 strokes ahead of the field after 36 holes and 10 ahead after 54. By the time Sunday rolled around, the tournament wasn't about who would win. It was about whether Tiger would break every record in the book. And break them he did. His 15-shot margin surpassed the previous record set by Old Tom Morris, who won the 1862 Open Championship by 13 strokes. His 6-stroke lead at the halfway mark and 10-stroke lead after 3 rounds were also US Open records. It was dominance on a level that defied comprehension. And finally, you've made it to our #1, and this one is the absolute holy grail of golf records. 18 major championships. It's the benchmark of greatness, the one number every golfer dreams of chasing, but very few even get close to. And yet, Jack Nicklaus didn't just chase it, he redefined it, setting a record that has stood the test of time since his last major win in 1986. Between 1962 and 1980, Nicklaus dominated the biggest stages in golf. He won majors at an astonishing pace, never going more than 2 seasons without adding another to his collection. His wins spanned every major championship. 6 Masters titles, 5 PGA championships, 4 US Opens, and 3 Open championships. Each victory cemented his legacy, but it wasn't just the quantity that stood out. It was the way he won. Nicklaus thrived under pressure, delivering clutch performances when it mattered most. Take his 1986 Masters victory, for example. At 46 years old, Nicklaus was considered past his prime, but he turned back the clock with a final round 65, including an unforgettable back 9 charge. The roars of the Augusta crowd echoed through golf history as he claimed his 6th green jacket, his 18th and final major title. It was a fitting exclamation point on a career defined by brilliance. And now you're still here, we have another amazing video for you right in the middle of the screen. Enjoy.